Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we've got another boss dungeon guide for you with the Temple of Sethraliss. Now up first is a boss fight that actually has two bosses, Azeroth and Aspix, and these bosses will switch between which one is active and inactive. The active boss will not have any buff on them and the inactive boss will have a lightning shield. This lightning shield will also return any damage you do to the boss that has it. So while in normal and heroic mode you can cleave the bosses, in mythic mode it's best to target the boss without the buff. Now when a boss is inactive and has lightning shield, their energy will go all the way up to 100 energy and they will cast a series of abilities that will be different than when they are active. Now in the beginning of the fight, Aspix will start the fight with the shield and will be inactive. Aspix will be casting Jolt every now and then, which is completely interruptible, and it's just a cast that does damage to a random person. At 50% energy, Aspix will actually cast Conduction on a person, which is an AoE that looks like this. And at 100% energy, Aspix will cast Static Shock, which will do damage to all of the group and is unavoidable. Now whenever Aspix is active and actually does not have the shield, Aspix will be casting Gust, which will be cast on the target and can be interrupted. Now when Azeroth is inactive and has the shield, at 50% Azeroth will blink to a random person and cast Deal of Thunder, which is a 15-yard AoE. So whenever Azeroth blinks to a person, make sure you move out of that to avoid the damage. And at 100% Azeroth will actually arc dash, which means that Azeroth will dash to random players, doing damage to anyone in the path. So just spread out, split apart, and this will minimize the impact of the damage. Now when Azeroth does not have a shield, he will be casting Cyclone Strike, in which Azeroth will face a certain direction, cast and throw tornadoes out that do damage. Make sure that you either sidestep him or do not stand in front of Azeroth at any moment when he does cast Cyclone Strike. Now in heroic and mythic, each boss gets one more ability, and this is when they are not active, so when they have the shields. Azeroth will actually be doing a 15-yard AoE Arcing Blade, which is split damage. So you do have to make sure that when Azeroth is actually active, everyone has to stack up within 15 yards of the tank. And for Aspix in heroic and mythic, he will periodically cast Gale Force, which will target a random player, push them back, and do damage. This player should just counteract it by running into the force and not getting knocked back into other mobs or out of range of the boss. Up next, we have Merektha. Now for phase 1, there is a frontal cone ability called Noxious Breath. Just sidestep it, avoid the damage, and avoid standing in any of the pools. And the other thing that is cast is Blinding Sand. When this cast goes off, Merektha will blind anyone looking at it for 5 seconds. So just make sure you turn around, face away from the boss when that cast goes out, and then turn right back in and DPS the boss. Now in heroic and mythic mode, there's one other thing added to this phase, and that is that the boss will cast a Knot of Snakes on a player. This will stun the target for 15 seconds and deal damage. As of this moment, this knot is actually CCable or stunnable, and if you do any hard CC like Paralysis, Imprison, or any kind of stun like Asphyxiate, Shockwave, Stormbolt, Shadow Fury, anything like that, this knot will immediately fall off after the stun. So make sure you get your stuns off immediately in order to help release this person. Now at 60 and at 45%, the boss will actually go underground and run around the edge of the arena. Avoid being hit by the boss, because this will do damage and knock you back. Now each one of these phases will spawn adds that need to be nuked down immediately. At 60%, the adds actually poison the tank, so the tank should be getting dispelled. And at 45%, the adds will actually spawn clouds, which will make them dodge any sort of damage going out on them, so just move them out of the clouds and nuke them. The third boss on this list is Galvez. Now this boss will spawn towers all around the room that will empower him if the beam hits him. Now if he does get empowered all the way to 100 energy, he will do a big AoE damage to the whole party and actually gain a charge of a stacking buff that increases his damage by 20%. So what players should do is actually stand in the beams and stop the boss from getting empowered. Now depending on the difficulty, you should be dipping out of the beam and being substituted by another party member anywhere between 10 to 15 stacks. And the towers will spawn faster and faster as the fight progresses, so you will inevitably get an explosion. So as soon as you see the boss hit 100 energy, make sure you have a defensive cooldown for that big burst of damage going out. And last on this list is a healing fight, Avatar of Sethraliss. Now during this fight you will have reoccurring phases, and what happens in each one of these phases is that there will spawn 4 Hoodoo Hexers, and they will reduce the amount of healing received by the Avatar of Sethraliss, and also a Guardian will be spawned. This Guardian actually needs to be tanked actively since he does have threat, and will be doing large amounts of damage and a stacking debuff to your tank. If you are doing this in Heroic and Mythic mode, you will also have one additional spawn, a Plague Doctor, which will be casting Chain Lightning, which just does damage and bounces around, which can be interrupted, and also cast Snake Charm, which is uninterruptible 15-second debuff that incapacitates the target that it hits. Make sure that your healer is dispelling whoever gets this. Now once you get all of the Hexers down, then the Avatar of Sethraliss can receive healing. In order to defeat this boss, you actually have to heal the Avatar up to full. So as soon as all of the Hexers are down, make sure that your DPSers and tanks are killing the toads or stepping on them, because the toads will reduce the amount of healing done by your healer, and your healer just has to start casting a lot of heals onto the Avatar. When the Guardian died, he did drop an orb. This orb should be used as soon as all of the Hexers go down, because the orb will increase the amount of healing received by the Avatar. You will have this happen 3 different times, so again, your priority should be taking down the Guardian first, then move on to the Plague Doctors if you are in Heroic or Mythic mode, and then take down all of the Hexers. Once that phase is complete, make sure that none of the toads hit your healer by either nuking them or stepping on them, and then heal the Avatar to full. Now that does it for this boss fight. If you like my content, like what I do, want to help support the channel, go ahead and visit my Patreon down below. I do also stream 2 times a week here and on Twitch, so give me a follow on your favorite platform. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, good luck out there.